Well, appreciate it, everybody. I was chewing on like how best to give a lesson to a bunch of folks in here like this. Like what would actually stick, what actually makes sense. And when they asked me to do it, it gave some free reign with not to follow a specific lesson plan or don't have to exactly do the levels of stuff we've been doing. So I chewed on like what can a guy like me, you know, talk about with guys like you and gals, that would actually stick with and make sense. And as I thought through it, what I came down to, or what my title or theme is going to be today is it takes what it takes, but it takes what it takes in the eyes of the Lord, and how that actually works, and is it something that is that is required, and like how that lines up as my own personal experiences, what I've done in my short, almost 28 years of life. And I'm sure there's a lot of fun stories we can tell in here to relate to that. So when it comes to it takes what it takes, it's a mindset that I feel like I've tried to always live by. But when you think about the concept of like doing whatever's required, right? It's something that just takes, for me, it doesn't matter. Like, if you want something, go get it, right? If there's something you need, there's something you want, and there's something you want to achieve, then you got to go get it. But with that, how does that actually align when you think about it from a something you want to achieve, or how you want to do it? How does that actually align with the Lord's word, and how does that actually go with something that you want to achieve? And so it was a question I had to ask myself. I've never dived into it from that perspective. Kind of just always took that route from my end, and it never actually looked into it. And then, so as it went along, you think about, for example, and I'm going to share a clip here in a second. Let me do this. But one of my favorite athletes of all time, Kobe Bryant, God rest his soul. He, the reason I connected with Kobe is because of the work ethic that he had. And I don't know how much, all you know about Kobe Bryant, but his, achievements are one thing, a lot of championships. But the cool part about Kobe was he had this extreme work ethic to achieve something he wanted to achieve, and he put in like he went to the major extremes. But the more you learn about Kobe, is that he's actually a believer and a follower of Christ as well, and that's something he always punted back to. So I'm going to share this clip real quick, and it'll result back to what. Let's see if you can let me in there, William.
Recording in progress.
All right. Share. Hopefully this feedback's not.
God is great.
Is it that simple?
God is great.
Yeah. It's terrible. We'll see if is that TV turned up. This might be a fail.
Don't get no simpler than that, bro.
Did you know that? I mean, I'm everybody.
Undo the mic real quick right here, and then try it. See if that works. Do that.
God is great.
Is it that simple?
God is great. Don't get no simpler than that, bro.
Did you know that? I mean, everybody knows that, but the way you know it now, did you know it before that incident took place?
You can know it all you want, but until you got to pick up that cross that you can't carry, and he picks it up for you and carries you and the cross, then you know.
So let me get off this. So when you think about somebody as Kobe, who is the ultimate high achiever, and achievement is what it is, right? Like it's whatever you define it to be as. But the ultimate high achiever is somebody who gave this great effort to say something like that, where it's like no matter how much work he put in, which I don't, again, I'm not trying to get to the details of Kobe, but the whole helicopter incident, he had the helicopter because he wanted to be able to take a helicopter from his house at 3 a.m. to go work out and be back in time for his kids to wake up and then go do it again, right? So the ultimate high achiever, and somebody who said he realizes that he can't carry the whole burden. It takes what it takes, and he can't handle. There is a higher power that handles that for him. And when you look into it, I have these handouts I'm going to give here. Here you go, pass these along. And it's kind of it takes what it takes card, right? And it's as simple as it is, but hopefully a couple of you will. And what I want you to do is write down the back, either verses or whatever it may be that relates to what it takes, so that you can remind yourself. And I'm going to read through the ones I have here for me to help this kind of come full circle, because the reason I wanted to even bring this up from a personal level is because my wife and I were talking last night, and it's funny to think about, because sometimes it's like, is it just a coincidence or is it not, right? Is it a coincidence that, like, for me personally, this last year of my life, right, 12 months, call it, has finally shaped up into the trajectory of what I want to see my life turn into, right? And is it a coincidence that the last 12 months of my life have also been the most that I've ever actually consistently studied the word of the Lord, consistently tried to learn, consistently prayed, consistently had honest conversations with God? Is it a coincidence or is it not? And I'll do you one better. I'm not making this up. Yesterday, messing around on the machine in the house, doing stuff outside. I went inside for 5 minutes, and I swear I'm not making this up. 5 minutes, got some water, and somebody knocks on the door. I'm like, okay. And Grace is gone, and I answer the door, and it's these two younger guys, and I'm not exactly sure what they were doing or what church they were with or what was going on, but it was out of the blue. I guess it was 5 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, and they just looked at me and they're like, we were just wondering if you want to come worship with us tomorrow, or if you need to be prayed for, or if you know anybody in the neighborhood that would need that. And it's interesting because in those 5 minutes, I was working on some of these bullet points to talk about today, and it's like, is it a coincidence or is it not? Right? Is there actually some truth behind all this stuff aligning together? So for my "It Takes What It Takes" card here, I have 3 verses that I think really can just tie it all together, and hopefully these make sense to you guys, and then we can kind of chat about what you think from your experiences. But the first one I have here is Matthew 6, verse 33. Seek the kingdom of God above all else and live righteously, and he will give you everything you need. And I think that one is what, as I was studying through, if it takes what it takes from that mentality standpoint, what does that actually look like? And as a lot of you know, in the Bible, there's no clear exact route. It's not like, Riley, you need to do this, right? It's the concept that I learned is that all the work and all the stuff that goes into whatever you're trying to achieve, it's actually worth it, and it's actually okay to put in that work as long as you're serving what you're trying to serve in the Lord, right? As long as that's the main thing, then all the work, all the effort, everything you're doing is actually it's okay, and that's part of it, and it's supposed to be that way. The second one I have here is, and Proverbs has a lot of good ones relative to hard work and it takes what it takes. But this one's Proverbs 3, verse 6. Seek in his will all you do, and he will show you which path to take. Which, in that little example I gave about my own personal life, I feel like this is exactly the case. If you seek his will and all you do, then it all lines up, and it ends up being exactly what you're looking for from God's perspective, right? Again, it's never going to be as clear as day. It's never going to be exactly what you want it to be, what you think it's supposed to be, because God's timing is not always your timing. And I think it's certainly is almost the exact way of kind of shifting the mindset to understand what that looks like. The last one I have here, just for this this example, is Colossians 3 verses 23 and 24. And this one's interesting because I guess the subheading is the instructions for Christian households. And when you think about it, it's like, all right, well, here's like a little bit of merit behind what to actually do. And these read as such: work willingly at whatever you do, as though you were working for the Lord rather than for people. Remember that the Lord will give you an inheritance as your reward, and the master you are serving is Christ. So to tie it all back together, what I was trying to do, and this is more of like a personal exercise, I just felt like it was worth sharing, is the whole concept for me was, okay, well, if you want this take what it takes mentality, if you're going to put in this extra effort to go get whatever you want, like, does it actually align with being a Christian male trying to serve the Lord? And the answer is yes, right? That's what I found. And it was very validating, but you have to do it the right way. And the right way is to just seek the Lord in everything you do. And then it actually aligns with trying to achieve whatever it may be. It could be tying your shoe. It could be whatever it is, as long as it's appropriately, that vision aligns with, what you learn and what you do, then it goes from there. And so it was almost a validating experience for me. But again, like I said, is ironic or coincidence or not that personally, some of the stuff that I've experienced, especially, over the last little while, is it just a coincidence? I actually don't think it is. I think that's just part of it. And when you actually align what you're trying to do with serving the Lord, then things start to show up and your life starts to be like exactly like this Proverbs: seeking his will all you do, and he will show you which path to take. And for me, that path, I'm not sure the exact path from now until the end, but the path is certainly starting to align and something that I feel like is what I want my life to be. And it's not just because of me. Like the clip from Kobe, like I imagine what he's saying is like, how you feel when you can't open like a jar or you can't do something and somebody just comes in and does it real quick. Or if I feel like I'm a pretty strong guy with this is probably how Gabe feels every time he works out with me, but like when somebody else can lift more weight than you or something, like that's yeah. But that's but just that feeling, right, is something that it's just a different feeling. It's like, wow, like this person can do this, but from a higher power level, imagining or knowing that somebody's there to help pick you up and everything else with it when you can't do it. And that feeling in itself gives you the ability, or if it gives me the feeling and the ability to want to, give that effort for it. It takes what it takes and get it done. So hopefully if one of you uses this for your actual life, it'd be pretty cool. If not, it's just my handwriting. Sorry. Yeah. So I think, so we don't run out of time too fast, there's a lot more experienced individuals in the room. So I don't know if there's anyone that wants to share a specific verse that maybe, ties into your own personal, it takes what it takes, or if there's any experiences in which, are relative to the point that I'm trying to make of all the work is worth it. And it's okay to, because I always had this sense of guilt of is having the mindset to want to achieve certain things or have a certain type of life, is that does that align? And the answer is yes, as long as you're serving in the right way. So the floor is for anyone that wants to give an example that is relative to what we tried to talk about there.
I like your first one. I thought the idea of team building here is critical, especially for young people. You embrace our high achievers, but keeping that thought around alignment and making sure that whatever you're trying to achieve, whatever you're doing, is helping to build the kingdom of God here. And you're right, it's not a blueprint. Mm-hmm. It's not black and white like a blueprint, but it is directional. And I do think that you need to always be checking to make sure that all that energy, all that stuff you're pouring into achievement is also glorifying God
Mhm.
every step of the way.
Yeah.
I think it's a great point and a great reminder for everybody in the age.
Yeah. And I think last week, Brad Trick was talking about like making your deposits into, like, yes, the life on earth, but also like, like we're talking about the kingdom, and it's crazy when you think about it, because it is like all the energy and effort that you give on earth. Like there's the afterlife with God. And it's crazy to think that, you could not be appropriately given that energy, but as long as you have the right alignment, then that energy is worth it, and it's worthwhile. Yeah,
Can I say something to brag about you?
sure. This is what you came here for.
Hey,
Yeah.
Riley's my son-in-law, but he's my son. I've known him for a long time, and as long as I've known Riley, he is a takes what it takes kind of person. And he's not bragging about himself up there, but I'm gonna brag about him. So I don't know if y'all know, Riley has a master's of business analytics from Wake Forest. He's extremely bright. He's very athletic, as we all know. He's a very self-made man. He's very motivated on his own. He's like, I got a goal and I'm gonna do it, and he does it. And I'm very proud of that. And I've known him since he's like, not that long, but since he's like 16. So, and I've seen him grow into this amazing young adult man. But one thing recently that is just epitomizes this, and he is not telling y'all, so I guess he didn't want it to be a plug or anything. But Riley had an incredible job in an accounting firm doing his business analytics stuff. He's went up to be with Grace in Illinois and was able to work remotely and be behind a computer all day and be at home and make a great living doing that. And then they got married, they moved here, and he's been doing it about 5 years, 5 years.
Yeah.
And he decided it's not what I want to do for the rest of my life. I'm not wanting to sit behind this computer. And he took an extreme leap of faith, obviously praying on this situation. I mean, you definitely have to get some guidance there from the Lord. And he quit his job and he is doing something completely different. He bought into Trees and Plants, which is a landscaping business here in town. Something he really didn't know much about, but he knew, hey, I'm a leader. I want to be my own boss. I want to achieve my goals. I don't want to sit behind a desk all day long. And he actually researched different things. I think he's researched like laundromats and storage facilities and things that would fit his budget to do, but also buy into it. And so Riley has taken a huge leap of faith, and obviously he had to really dig deep and do some praying and decide if this is gonna, it takes what it takes. I'm gonna have to give it all. I'm gonna have to trust, and I'm gonna have to, rely on my, Grace and I to, whether it succeeds or fails, we're gonna do it together, and the Lord's gonna have our back. So anyway, that's a huge example, and I wanted him to tell you, but obviously you probably didn't want to, put a plug for his new business, but I don't know.
That's the best marketing right there.
Word of mouth.
Yeah.
I don't think that at 28 I could have jumped off the cliff like that. So, hey, great degree. I have a very stable,
So for a set price, you come to my lawn, is that right?
Yep. That's exactly what it is.
Anyway, I had to brag about it.
You personally, can I get?
Yeah. I'll walk backwards too for you. Yeah.
Sorry if I embarrassed you.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Extremely proud of him. I know as a mom and probably his mom were like, oh my gosh, what is he doing? What is he doing? But he's doing it. And I know he's going to succeed because Riley does do what it takes. And he is a strong Christian man, and I'm very proud of him.
You like that? Yeah, nice. Thank you. And that was part of, you know, making me want to make sure all this made sense, right, from the word of the Lord, because again, it at the end of the day, it does take what it takes, right? Whatever you want, you got to go get it, or guess what? You're not going to get it. And if you want to sit there and complain about it, that's cool. But that's not me, and that's not how it works. But given all that effort and the energy that, like Steve talked about, I just wanted to personally make sure it made sense to do that. And that's what, you know, I discovered throughout this, throughout kind of this research through what the word says along, you know, it's okay to work, and it's okay to work hard, and it's okay to chase after stuff as long as you're serving the kingdom and seeking to do that the right way. That's what I learned, and it was a cool experience. And you know, it's funny. I remember Charles and I were talking at the animal hospital like Christmas party, and it's funny how like I love the overnight success story. You know, it takes 50 years to be an overnight success, right? So, and stuff like that is cool to see, because it takes what it takes, and that's it. It's certainly cool to see, and it's cool to see, you know, only here with the life on earth, but as Christian men and females, you know, it's cool to see it align that way too. And so it was a great experience for me, just doing some research through this way. And then obviously, hopefully everybody else can realize that it's cool and it's okay to take that. If it takes what it takes, well, guess what, it does. So just go ahead and go do it.
But it's still not easy, and I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
It's the best feeling in the world is when you got both the line, God's plan and your plan, and you know it. You feel like it's just a real strong tailwind right behind you. Like, oh, we're moving. You know, this must be the thing. But it's a lot more difficult as you approach, you know, fork in the road. You start to get those whispers, you know, and they start to diverge. And the Lord's plan is going this way, and the world's wanting yours to go this way. That fork in the road is really hard. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah.
Nah, I'm not hearing that right. Especially when the world's telling you, no, you need to stick with your business analytic.
Yeah.
Stick with that. That's the dream. You got to stick with that. But the Lord's whispering in your ear, like, got something else in mind for you. It takes hard work to make it work, but it is really hard to just open your ears and hear when there's a direction change.
Yeah.
At least it was for me.
Yeah.
I didn't want to hear it for the longest time.
Yeah. And I think the consistency for me, at least, like have consistently, you know, reading and learning and listening from, you know, the word perspective, it kind of starts to, like you said, as you're derailing one way or the other, it kind of keeps that, like, then you like, you know, it derails, and then all of a sudden you can feel it, and then you know it, and then you just keep pumping it out, and then all of a sudden it's true, and then just go do it, and it only helps other people.
The whole idea of alignment, and I think it's really interesting that you as a 28-year-old sought out this class, because I've been a member of this class since I moved back here, and there's something to sharing this journey and watching those who go before you and learning from them. I look at people in this room like Chris Bradshaw. I'm speaking in this room like Keith Garner, who are mentors of mine, and I've watched their cars get off the road. And I've watched them realign it, and directionally, they are spot on. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be messy. Mm-hmm. It's never going to look like that straight line. But watching other men go through those moments and continue to align and realign again, it's helpful to have this community 100%. To be able to do that and remind.
Yeah. And part of it is like when it does go off the rails, and like when stuff, it's okay. Like you can get it back on track. And again, being able to see people do it, and like, you know, you're a good example. All these, like, seeing, it's like, again, how many years of work for what, right? It's overnight success, right? It's a hilarious concept to me, because it's like, it does take work, but also you're going to get off the rails, you get off the path, and it doesn't mean it's over, right? It's not over. You can just get it right back on and utilize the community. And that's part of like the whole concept in the Bible is helping other people. And what are we doing in here as a community is we're helping each other from all aspects. And it's cool for me to be a part of it. I appreciate you guys wanting to listen to and almost 28-year-old just say a bunch of stuff up here. But I appreciate it. You know, again, it's not a coincidence, but it's funny to think about just the stuff that's happened in my life the past year. And it's all relative to, you know, the first time I've ever, and my grandfather's a preacher. I grew up in the church my entire life, but I never like truly consistently week after week, you know, studied and learned and tried to have honest conversations with God, except this past year, which ironically, right, stuff starts to fall in place. And I don't think it's irony. I think it's just the way it is, and that's the way it goes. And it's never going to be perfect, but it's gonna, as long as if you keep the main thing, then it's gonna roll together. So that's all I got. But yes, sir.
Voice of experience. I had a milestone in my life 2 weeks ago. I turned the 3/4 mark. I'm 75.
Yes, sir.
And I'll give you something that just hit me recently. And the fear of failure is strong. So we have all failed. We have all tried to fail. But if you don't try, you never will. So if you don't follow it, you'll chase it.
Mm-hmm.
And so eventually it will click and it will all come in alignment. It may take a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's kind of the concept of if you'll never fail if you just don't quit. Right. And it's a simple concept, but Charles and I talk about it too. It's like, you know, he's sitting there at the animal hospital party and there's 60 employees, but he still remembers when it was just him, you know? And it's like, well, guess what? He's old now, but he's old. He's old now. He's old now, but he didn't quit, right? And so it's all came to be what it is. The old part wasn't the joke. Sorry. He is old. Yeah, and it just takes what it takes, and that's for everyone to define individually. But yeah, anything else?
The only better basketball player than Kobe Bryant once said, Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
you miss 100% of the shots you never take.
100%. Yep. Good deal. All right. Appreciate it.